The In It Together with Lori Lynn Greene talk show is a positive way to start your day. Ready for some encouragement?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped. Let's let the healing begin.
Come be inspired. Hear moving stories. Even laugh out loud.
Can't make heads or tail of what I'm saying.
It's just incomprehensible.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
You'll hear real people doing real things to make a real impact.
You are heroes every day.
Hear honest, compassionate, engaging issues you care about.
You see people come together to do good in our community, and the more we come together, the more good we can do.
Listen in and get started on redesigning your life and hear what's positive in Greater Manchester. Here's your happy host, Lori Lynn Greene.
Welcome, friends in Greater Manchester. Thanks for tuning in. We're so glad that you did. If you want to find us on the web, you can go to inittogether.net, listen to previous shows, even link to our Facebook and Twitter. And if you like and follow us, you'll see that we are bringing out the best in people to influence positive change in this community. Today is Friday, March 18th, 2016. We're kicking it off this morning with our, I guess you could say, our show millennials, Captain Chris Gerry and Kenny Hollingsworth, for keeping it real. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning. Good.
And that's it.
And we start the week off on Mondays, and we say Mondays are fun days. So I guess Fridays are what?
Celebration that we've made it through yet another week. We are not in jail. We didn't need bail money.
Not in jail.
Oh, but you're millennials. You mean that you guys are okay?
Yeah, we're fine.
You're doing okay. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that. We've been talking a lot about wisdom, and we have a special guest this morning that I think would be worthy of introducing, someone that we've known for a very long time. I've known you for, I would say, 28, let's see, maybe 25 years?
Probably.
Mm-hmm. That is the lovely voice of Miss Linda Masson.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're so glad that you're here with us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, actually, we're as normal, letting the Holy Spirit lead this as far as wisdom goes. We've been talking about wisdom for some weeks now. And I don't know, Chris, if you had something to just start it off with, or...
Nothing really to jump in, but I do want to say that I treasure Miss Masson. Mm-hmm. She's been a part of my life for about 10 years now. Mm-hmm. Seems like only yesterday, but it's just so nice to see, in continuance, especially with Lori, but even Linda, she's been a real encouragement to the young people.
Thank you,
There's been such a wonderful voice and just encouragement. A lot of times you see a lot of opposition coming from the older to the younger, but it's just so good to have people in places where they just encourage you to continue moving forward. And just even with Miss Masson being just coming through a lot in the faith and just, in life, having life experiences, I believe she is, not maybe, but she is a great voice of wisdom, because I'm sure she's walked through some things that...
That is true.
That is true. And I will tell you, honestly, Chris, I've been really appreciative of you and the young people in our church, because I see what you're doing and what your lives are like, Kenny too, and it gives me a lot of hope. A lot of hope. It's very encouraging.
I agree with that. I go back to Acts, where it talks about the young men will have visions and the old men will dream dreams. But in reality, I think what we discovered, that if we come together, our visions and our dreams are not too much different.
That's right.
We have some zeal, we have some fire to walk it out, and just kind of encourage the older people that may have been discouraged for so long that they've forgotten how to dream. And just, if we are able to set aside the mindsets that we have towards one another, and if we can come together and partner with those things, I believe that we could take a whole lot of ground in life.
That's true. We've heard it said recently, I don't know, even the past couple of years, where this thing, we passed the baton, and actually we've decided we don't want to do that. We want to run together.
That's right.
Why pass it on when we can, experience, renew, I think, as older people, renew our zeal for life with the younger people.
Exactly.
But then the great part is where they want the wisdom that we have to share, and the best way to share it is the way that you do, Linda, all the time, and it is that just from the place of love.
Yeah, and we want their enthusiasm
Absolutely.
and
That's
their
it.
get up and go and
Because
their
when-
energy.
And I was actually sharing with someone recently that when you see people connect with their passion, it encourages you to connect to yours and
Yes.
just gives you excitement and encouragement to pursue your dreams and your passions. But I just can't help to think the importance of just impartation. But even like you said, Lori, I can't help but think of, Joseph. That story's been coming up a lot. He didn't forget the places that he's been, Even in the position he was put in from prison to palace, he still remembered his father.
Yeah.
And he still remembered his brothers, being the youngest. And so just important to realize that even though there be impartation, there's still a time where we can run together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is wisdom to run together. And what's interesting is some of the elements or attributes that have to be there for us to be able to run together in, I guess you could say, unity, is that underlying love that I was talking about, Linda, that I think is more caught than taught.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
And then there's that humility of knowing, even from both sides, that none of us has it all, but that if we could find the value in one another, regardless of generation or anything like that, that everybody has something. If they're alive, they have value.
Yeah, and just to sum that thought all up, I can't help but think of a good friend, David Huskins. He had a quote that he said that just greatly impacted me. He said, "We may not have it all together, but together we have it all."
Oh, I love that. That's really good, actually.
Together we have it all.
Yeah.
And I tear up thinking about that because, it's just so true.
Yeah, and so Linda, you've lived a life, in many of us glean off you whether you know it or not, and most of it is just your life. We always think about trying to, impart to another generation or impart to others is always, giving a message or, talking to them or whatever. But really, it's our life, how we live our life.
Yeah.
How we handle difficult times. I mean, for knowing you as long as I've known you, you've gone through a lot of difficult times.
Yes.
You've gone through loss. You've gone through...
But I've never gone through anything alone.
That's right.
I mean, having Jesus in my heart, in my life, has made all the difference. And then having the community that I belong to and the people around me has been incredible.
How important would you, how wise would you say it would be for people to surround themselves in the right environment?
Of course, you have to do that. You have to do that.
And what does that look like? I mean, if you had to sum it up.
First of all, the environment's within you.
Right.
And it leaks out all around you. And you'll attract the right people. You'll attract people who are hungry for what you have.
Wow.
I love that. See, that's wisdom talking right now.
Yeah.
See, now I've kind of known that, but to hear you say it really solidifies it for me. That so we're talking about what Chris has talked about. Really knowing our identity.
Right. Exactly.
In order to really experience life the way that you want to, you have to know who you are. It works from the inside out. So.
Yeah.
That's right. And, I can't help but think about a quote that I read on Facebook one day. And I'm not going to do it any justice, but I got pretty much the summary of it. It's, when we walk together, there are times where we forget what we're made of, and we forget just the potential that we carry. And it's always good to have somebody next to us who's able to remind us of those very things.
Yes.
I almost think about this song that, lean on me, because there will come a time where I'll need somebody to lean on,
Yeah, that was the theme song that we used at the 1269
Yeah.
Oh,
thing.
yeah. The launch of the new
launch.
building.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. It's just kind of to go off what Chris said, when these millennials ourselves, we're in the state of trying to find our passion and our purpose. And I was listening to a show yesterday, and Vinny was kind of talking about it yesterday. But it's so important to have someone who has walked through and has truly found their identity and has that wisdom and carries that in love to glean off of, because when you're in a state and you have no idea, you need to lean on the Lord, but secondly, He's going to put those people in your life that are truly going to show you, maybe not your calling, but help you build tools, such as Lori does, build tools to find out who you are. Let's go through a process. Let's do a treasure hunt. Let's dig in who you are as a person and bring that out. It's so important to have those people around your life. And I know I've discovered that recently, and it's not even sitting down with those people all the time. It's just watching them. And then you realize this is how they got to where they are today, just by living their life and the way they go about and carry themselves. That's just good.
Yeah, wouldn't you say, we've been talking about wisdom, so I'm thinking about the practical wisdom in our lives every day, and I was saying before, wisdom isn't necessarily just, we know it's an extraordinary level of excellence that we want to live by, but but part of our everyday life, it's not something we really achieve. It can be caught like when we're focusing on the answer rather than the problem.
That's right.
Yes. And it's something we just kind of discover organically as we're going through life. And so these are like little nuggets, or like Kenny was saying, little things of treasures that we begin to collect in our treasure chest. And then when somebody comes along someday, you may not know what you need it for, and then one day you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it helps connect the dots or something.
It does.
And I even think it's so important that you do discover those things. I know there's many times where, I've sat with you, Lori, and I've told you things, and you're like, I knew that all along, but you had to. But God wouldn't allow me to say it because you had to discover it for yourself. And I think that goes along with what the Word says about, buy the truth and sell it not. You got to own that truth. You can't live off of somebody else's truth or someone else's experience. Not that can't help you, encourage you in your life, but there comes a point where you need to have an experience for yourself, because that brings an assurity within you, and it also helps you connect to the wisdom to know how to practically apply those the knowledge that you have and the experiences that you've walked through.
That's true. It makes me think of, I kind of had a lot of these points, but I'm going to pull out one of them. I figured not to do it in order, but in however it emerged. But wisdom has a great depth and a wide scope, right? And it actually creates balance because it integrates wisdom, but it's focused on the whole, on the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
So wisdom can actually, to be wise is to know, like you said, when to speak, when not to speak. So you're using it in its great weight, yet in restraint.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a crazy thought. It's almost like it's on a balance. What do you call that thing?
A scale.
Yeah, a scale balance. And it takes wisdom to be able to do that.
I almost see experiences and knowledge on both sides, and then wisdom right in the center, where your center balance is.
I don't know. So we also see wisdom as it's a superior level of knowledge in judgment. It basically just shows us what's the most excellent way.
Yeah.
And that's the most excellent way that we know. So in a sense, there are kind of levels of wisdom, because you can know so much based on what you know, but then, tapping in with other people, what other people know. Yeah. We're not made to be an island, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure, Linda, you could say living your life that you are at this time in your life where you are because not just of yourself, but in God, but the people He's put in your life.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So who's impacted you the most?
Oh, boy. Who's impacted me the most? That is so hard to say, Lori, because
you've had
there's
so many
people, you know. My pastor, my church, the people that my family, they impact me. Even my children impact me because I learn a lot from them. I'm just, I don't know. I feel totally blessed.
Yeah.
I feel surrounded by love. I just, you know, I don't know.
And I just think, like you said, wisdom is taking the knowledge and be able to have to practically apply it in your lives wherever. And we can get that anywhere. Linda and I have talked about this before. It can be from one of the little kids.
That's right.
Like you do Sunday school.
Yes.
And so even when someone makes a mistake, we can get wisdom from learning from that. So everything's a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at it, that way.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thanks. I just think it's interesting when Linda said, just everyone, because that just goes to show that being wise is having an open ear and an open heart to being careful, being mindful, but just receiving from, everyone has value and everyone has something to offer. Yeah. And that's just that was just something I just picked up on.
Yeah.
And actually I have a story to go along with that. So last night So to just make it kind of quick, I was at a small group, and we brought a kid. Dylan and I, we brought a kid over who, he doesn't have much experience in church, but we put him in. But that's
a good thing.
He got into but he got into an atmosphere. He got into the atmosphere where God was, and this guy starts speaking words that only God could reveal. And I was looking at my friend. I'm like. He's calling things out. It's amazing. God will use anything. Yeah, and it just comes down to once the fear's gone and all that stuff, and you can really feel safe and comfortable. That's when really it emerges. So we're talking about wisdom in the human condition. It's the most meaningful part of life. It's not that quick answer, but it's the stuff that offers the greater insight, and it actually changes your life and makes you a greater value to others around you and even to yourself. Yeah. True. So we are unfortunately out of time. That was a quick segment, wasn't it? Yes. Short and sweet, but thanks again, guys, for coming in. Linda, no problem. Hope to have you back again. Thank you. Hi, I'm Lori Lynn Greene, Advancement Strategist and owner of AlphaAdvancementStrategies.com. I've been very successful at helping people overcome stressful situations to get immediate results in their personal and professional lives. At Alpha Advancement Strategies, we provide a non-judgmental and supportive environment, empowering clients to focus more on reaching their goals. You can find us on the web at alphaadvancementstrategies.com or call us at 603-860-9260. Alpha Advancement Strategies is where you invest in yourself.
Childcare and preschool offers learning experiences that give kids a healthy sense of self and meaningful connections to the world around them. We teach children from a positive perspective so they learn healthy conflict resolution and develop character. Owner Jennifer Lever has over 28 years' experience in child development. She's helped children learn to read as young as 18 months. Join our happy place where we make happy happen. Located in Pinardville, bordering Bedford and Manchester. Call today at 603
for Recovery Now segments. Join me Tuesdays at 9 a.m. where I offer support to families struggling with addiction. Hear personal stories, learn the signs of addiction, and get help for your loved ones. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn.
I'm Josh Moore, State Representative and anchor of the Justice for All segment. Join me Wednesdays at 9 a.m. where we take a look at the history of America's founding fathers in light of today's important issues. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Greene.
Millennial segment. Captain Chris Gerry and Kenny Hollingsworth are in the house.
Good morning.
You guys bring out the young in me. That's a good thing.
Millennial.
Got the joy.
Honestly, it's...
Where?
Down in my heart.
Where?
Down in my heart.
All right. Very good. I was just saying out there, we gotta be ready to tell everybody for the joy that's in our heart.
That's right. Know how to give an account.
Yeah, that's it. Give an account. What he means in the LGV Lori Greene version translation is tell them why you're happy.
Exactly.
So
Terry, and if it's not on your face yet, tell your face.
If you're happy and you know it, tell your face.
Done.
Thank you, Kenny. Kenny is our new sound guy. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chris, you got a topic this morning.
I do. And this one's near and dear to my heart because it's actually something I'm walking through right now. And I try to stay away from talking about things I'm going through and rather talk about things that I've gone through. But this one really helped me, especially in light of the time that I find myself in, as well as a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of transition that's going on out there. And it's just so important that we just keep our minds on the truth. We've talked the course of the past few weeks on wisdom, and just it's so important in a time such as transition.
I actually want to define transition.
That'd be awesome.
It's a passage from one scene to another.
That's right.
Well, kind of. But it's also a change of a position, state, stage.
And it's always for the greater.
Yes.
And
kind of like puberty.
Yeah.
From immaturity to manhood.
That's right, I think.
And oftentimes transition is difficult. Now, here's the difference between pressure and stress. Is pressure? If stress would be if you don't have help, if you're on your own and you're kind of winging it, right?
Yep.
But pressure, if you have help, you can endure it better. makes it a little bit easier to go through.
Absolutely. And actually, it's good that you brought that up, Lori, because the Lord showed me one time that, the pressure from within, he likened it to a seed to me. The pressure that the seed endures, it's not an outside source, but rather within, and that's because the seedling's about to break through its shell out of confinement.
Okay.
And so, a lot of times during times of transition, we feel ourselves in a place where we begin to feel inward pressure. It's as if we're about to move, almost like labor pains, and we're about to transition from one place to another. And so it just kind of connected it well, a lot of times when we feel, like you said, stress versus pressure, stress will cause us to break down. And a lot of times it can cloud how we can hear from God, just because we're so focused by the circumstances rather than the truth. But when we have people around us who are able to help us walk through those times of transitions, the pressure is not to destroy us.
Yeah, so what is the help? I think the help is to help us stay focused on where we're going and not where we've been.
That's right.
I think about a butterfly. It has to go through that transition from being a caterpillar. I really doubt the butterfly is in there going, gee, if I can only stay a caterpillar. As he's transitioning, I think his probably only thing is to become a butterfly.
That's right. And the thing to actually realize about that is the caterpillar all along is equipped and has the potential in it to be a butterfly. It's just the nature of it. It's got all the tools.
Although we're talking about transition, I think that's for going from one thing to another thing. I think part of transition is actually transformation.
I agree.
It's changing. Sometimes, we have to change our perspective. We have to change our heart, our mind, sometimes our environment. Sometimes we have to change. But there's always a definite change that you just never return to the way that things were because you can no longer function that way.
I agree. Yeah. It's it's interesting, and this story is going to be an odd connection, but I'm going to try to do the best I can. When our dear family friend passed away from cancer, there's a little story that they gave for them to talk to little kids, and it was talking about a dragonfly. And the dragonfly started out as a larvae or just a little thing, and they would swim around the water. And they would always dream about the day because they would always see the other ones go on to become a dragonfly. And so when it was this particular larvae's time for transition from its state there to a dragonfly, it climbed up this stalk that was in the water, and it reached the top. And when it got there, he was so excited because he was a dragonfly and he was able to fly now. But when he tried to go back to tell his friends about it, he couldn't, because he was no longer in its former state, but he reached a new level of potential. And I'm not necessarily talking about, death this morning, but, I agree with that. A lot of times.
But in a sense, there is a death to the old self.
There is, right.
Like you're not living the way you were, so that part of you dies in a newer, more...
Exactly. And if you try to go back and operate at a lesser, it's just, you get that uneasiness because, God always has it in his mind to bring us into a greater place, always from one level to a next.
And I don't know who said this, but I recall this quote that someone says that you always move in the direction of your most predominant thought. And so it really comes down to not necessarily who we think we are. Well, who we think we are will be our experience, but who we really are is what we need to discover.
Yeah. Right, because from there, our desires and our wants change.
Right.
As we discover that.
To jump on that, I have a story about, so I'm in a class, it meets every other Thursday at Symphony House of Prayer. It's just like it's a video series, like learning, how to pray, like for specific things and intercede for people, which is basically just praying on other people's behalf.
Sure.
So this woman gave a testimony about, it kind of spoke to transformation where she felt like she was supposed to be, just fasting for Facebook and TV. Like she watched like a lot of TV, she said, and it was just kind of like a filler. Nothing's wrong with watching some TV and Facebook, but it was becoming like too much of a time consuming.
Takes your focus away from what you want.
Yeah, and so she fasted from it, and what happened was, weeks went by or whatever, and time went by, and she tried to go back to those things, and a transformation happened where she actually didn't want to anymore.
You lose the desire
because her higher purpose was called out, which is to pray and be with God, in those times and not be distracted by those things.
That's actually amazing what you just said, because the reality is we've always talked about this. How do we solve a problem? How do we get beyond where we are? We can only do it from a place above where we are. We have to go to a higher place. So a higher purpose always trumps the one that was before it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. That's good. So, that's really good. Go ahead, Chris. Continue on.
And even just bouncing off of that, that's why it's so important who you, even your surrounding, like you were talking about your surroundings, Lori, who you surround yourself with. Is there going to be people who are going to drag you down to a lesser, or are there going to be people who you can trust that can see, as Kenny said, the greater potential in you, and as a result, they're able to call it out?
Yeah.
Especially in those times where you can't see it for yourself, and but they can see the greater. That's why it's important. We always say in it together, but that's why it's so important that we have those people who we can trust, that even in the midst of things, they can call out.
Yeah, and there are ways to tell that too. It's by the fruit in their life. You see their life, and you see what it produces. You see how they experience life, and that's how you know.
Yeah.
In other words, if they have what you long for, that's the desire of your heart, then there's someone who can help you get there.
Yeah, that's good. Because you got to be purposeful, I think, in like relationship building, but not just for selfish gain, but understanding that, like you said, there are people who produce good fruit. So if you're looking and you're watching these people, you'll notice that they're not stuck in the same place, doing the same thing over and over again, and getting no results. They're the people who are bearing good fruit, who are moving forward into a direction that, they were called to, again, like that higher calling. And it is so evident. I just think of people, in my life who are, great examples of that. They're completely, and not in a bad way, but completely different from when I first met them. Most of them, that I can think of. And not like they changed who they are. Just the places and the seasons of life are just far greater than the things that they were working on and dealing with before.
Yeah, so. I was just thinking how, and I've said this before too, our lives are always leading people toward or away from their purpose. And so with that thought, we're also always following people who are helping us go toward or away from our purpose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're like in the middle.
Right.
We're following where we should go, and then we're also helping bring others. And actually, that's the best place to be.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've always talked about, if you think you've arrived, then you've run into a problem, because you start to build walls around yourself and limit your potential. Yeah,
actually, because I don't know where you said it here, but I was thinking of how really all that we need and all that we need to get to where we're going, it's receiving it from somewhere, right?
Right.
And I was realizing this morning, and it's a new quote, that actually humility is the posture to receive.
Yeah, it is so vital, because you're not closed off in your mind because of pride, but when you're humble, God's going to use that.
Yeah, I think we see more from being humble. We are more open to receive what we need instead of thinking we know it all. That's actually a really dangerous place to be. It's kind of a prideful, closed off, island, isolated.
Yeah, and even I'm just thinking about Paul on Monday. He was talking about that. If personal trainers just close themselves off to learning new things, they become kind of stagnant. They become just they stop learning.
It's so interesting. It's like this topic relates to a class I was in last night. Then on the video, the teacher said, he was like, they're there's such an attack on the church and the body of Christ in this idea that, oh, I've heard this before. It's such a thing. Like, we always get this in our head. As soon as we hear a message that the pastor is preaching or someone is teaching or someone is trying to encourage you with, oh, I've heard this before, and you just shut off and you
That's
don't
a bad way to
receive anything, because it actually might be a new, fresh look that you have not heard before, and you're just thinking it because it relates to a topic that you've heard in this area.
This is a lot of the reason why that I approach it backwards from a lot of people do. I sit there and have a conversation and discuss meaning, and then I put the name on it. Because if I put the name on it first, I lose half the people.
Right.
Because they already think they know. But if you relate to them and share the meaning that connects with them, and then share what it is, then you've really been able to build them up and help them. So, it's just thinking about as a coach, and as a teacher, I guess I could say I'm a teacher too. The best teachers are actually great students first.
Yeah, I agree.
And the best coaches actually learn from other great coaches.
Yep.
And if the person that you are following or learning from doesn't have anyone they're following or learning from, I probably wouldn't follow or learn from them for very long. They may be able to tell you a truth, but in the long run, it could be, it's okay to listen to pieces from people. But as far as faithfulness in listening to certain people, you want to make sure that their life is proven for you to do that, right?
Right.
Yep.
So anyways, we got a couple more minutes left. I had a thought this morning talking about, in order to receive, first we know that we need to be humble. We want to be able to learn from others who have shown and proven in their lives to bear fruit and to, really be successful. So how we receive, though, has a lot to do with, we set our focus, right? So we can get confused, I think, sometimes between a conviction, which is something that's fixed on a firm belief in the truth, right? Or we can have hang-ups, which are just fixations or obsessions emotionally driven. And these become obstacles to a smooth transition or smooth progress that you're talking about. So I think people can have strong convictions that, let me just throw something out here. I don't think there's anything wrong with hanging out in bars. That could be somebody's conviction, But a conviction doesn't make it true all the time. Maybe in an instance that's true. But again, if we're talking about always people are watching us and always following our example, because we are living epistles examples, right? Then not only can it become an obstacle to our progress, but it can be an obstacle to the progress of those who are watching us. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying, depending on what your purpose and your goal is. That was just one example I was throwing out there.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Anyways.
It's good. It's, you always have to be careful who's watching you. You got to be, if you're trying to live as an example, you have to look around and see, okay, who am I being an example to, and how can I help them?
Yeah.
I think it's important. It's a good teacher is a teacher who knows their students' names and knows how to help them grow.
They're sensitive to them. They take the time to get to know who they are.
And they, I was hearing Jen Lever talk, and she was talking about how she individualizes plans and stuff for her kids at her daycare, and that's super important. And it's such a little thing because it's a daycare. Well, that's still true to the people we teach,
right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we're examples.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you very much for your input,
Knowledge
guys.
Keepers Child Care and Preschool offers learning experiences that give kids a healthy sense of self and meaningful connections to the world around them. We teach children from a positive perspective so they learn healthy conflict resolution and develop character. Owner Jennifer Lever has over 28 years' experience in child development. She's helped children learn to read as young as 18 months. Join our happy place where we make happy happen. Located in Pinardville, bordering Bedford and Manchester. Call today at 603-491-1770.
Are you looking to get fit and you've tried going to the gym or started an exercise plan but somehow can't get the results you want? PGM Fitness offers personal training for individuals and small groups. I start you off right so you're mentally and emotionally prepared to get physically fit. At PGM Fitness, I'll help you develop a plan that works with your budget and schedule. I'll even come to you. Find me on the web at pgmfitness.com or call me at 603-660-3004. PGM Fitness, your personal trainer to get
Lydia
personally
O'Leary,
fit.
anchor of Samaritan Truth. Join me every Thursday at 9 a.m. where we'll discuss practical ways to love God and love your neighbor. Because miracles happen every day and you could be one of them. only on In It Together with Lori Lynn
Green.
Greene.
The Storm Chaser segment, where we'll talk about severe weather in history, science, and today. Join me Fridays at 9:20, where we learn how to be ready for any storm that comes your way. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Greene.
Keeping It Real Storm Chasing Day. So we're kicking it off with Keeping It Real with Captain Chris Gerry and Kenny Hollingsworth, and my son Alex is sitting in, or David. I don't know how you want to say it.
Oh, I like David.
You like David? Okay, so David's sitting in. We call him Alex because his dad's name's David too. But okay, so you'll have to move closer. Chris, are you there?
I am, Lori.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Chris.
I'm doing quite all right.
Morning, buddy.
You're calling in because you're at work and you're taking a nice break to come and join us this morning.
It's a little bit more than that. I got a meeting with Human Resources, so I want to be sure that I'm there on time and prompt.
Well, hey, that's a good character trait right there, being timely.
So I'm broadcasting live here at the medical office building up at Elliott Way in Manchester.
Nice. There you go.
Well, very good, Chris. You have a topic for us this morning.
You know, Lori, I was in the shuffle of things today. I really didn't have much of a topic.
Okay.
I didn't know if you had anything
that's okay.
you could kind of roll around with.
That's okay. If you think about the title, Keeping It Real, we're really not trying to perform anything here. We just want to really talk about real things that happen to real people. You guys are great examples to the millennials, and that's why we bring you on. To have those real serious discussions, because I think a lot of times people, look at the millennial group as just clueless and everything, and I think they're just different. I wouldn't call them clueless. I would just say I think that God has a different call on this generation than he had on the one before. The one that I come from and the ones who are ahead of me, I feel like I'm like the Oreo middle here. I'm kind of in between. But
that's the best part too.
Yeah, it is. It is. Thank you very much. No, but really, I mean, the older generation, they plowed through a lot of things, and so now you guys just get to walk the paths that they plowed a lot of, and I think we've even curbed the whole opinion that we passed the baton, but now we really just want to run together.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And we're seeing that everywhere right now, aren't we? I mean, think about it, Chris, through the city.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Lori. A lot of times we think about the generation before, and there's a lot of negative stuff that goes with it, just because I think in the midst of everything, the honor principle has been lost. But if you look at it this way, it's a reciprocal thing, where we give honor and receive honor, and it's a mutual thing. And that way we're able to receive out of all the gifts that each one of us has. And I like to say it this way, the generation that's coming up now is the take charge generation, and not that I'm not about teaching.
Sure.
I love good teaching. I love being taught. I love hearing great things. But more importantly than that, I see that this generation, they hear the message, but rather than taking it and not doing anything with it, they get the fire within them to go out and do the very things that the message says.
What did you call the generation?
I don't think I called it anything.
Take charge.
Take charge generation. Okay.
Take charge. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that and what I've noticed a lot with the older generation is, they're still dealing with things, wrong ideas, misconceptions that has been handed down to them from when they were coming up, and so. But the cool thing is, because of the fire of the younger generation. Because they see the fire within them, that kind of gives them permission, and they kind of learn from us, just sort of taking charge and actually going out and doing those things. I talked about a couple weeks ago in church about times of transition, and one of the points that I made was, when you look at the children of Israel when they were crossing into a new thing, one of the things that had to happen was the generation before had to die in the wilderness. Now, luckily, because of the day that we're living in, and because of the redemptive work that Christ has done, no one has to die physically, but a lot of ideas and mentalities and old ways of doing things have to kind of be left behind.
Well, it says, how do you put new wine in old wineskins? It just doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah, so here's something I want to clarify, and you and I have talked about this, so there's no misunderstanding. Generation is not necessarily an age, but it's a state of our heart. It's that connection, making that connection. Maybe there's other definitions too. I don't want to just put it in a box. But what I want to say is, we're finding that when we talk about a generation, it's all ages. It's a culture of honor between all the ages, not having the hierarchy because of age, but more of who is God speaking to and through.
Right. It's
exactly.
It's a partnership. It's
yes.
It's a like giving and take. So kind of like Chris was saying, he's explaining like the different roles each generation has, but it's not saying one gift is more valuable than another. It's honoring everyone's gift equally. I think that's super important.
I love that, Kenny.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, I think the whole attitude is nobody's trying to be it or the person we're not, it's not about a position or a status now. It's about what is God doing and let's partner with it. And as we took things on that way in the city the last couple of years, what we've noticed is it reaches across every demographic. Yeah. We got people from, 10 years old all the way up to 80 and people who are homeless to people who are wealthy, all in the same thing. And nobody's looking to be a hierarchy. No one is looking to be in charge or to control everything.
It's just unity, which is cool. Like, everyone's coming together and doing their part. It's not like anyone has to be the leader. Like, I got to be the overseer. Like, look at me. Exactly. It's just everyone's coming and just serving together.
It's interesting is it's not that there's not a leader. It's, each individual ministry has someone who God has given the vision for. Sure. So that would be someone who would maybe start it, right?
Right.
And so, but it's a servant leadership. It's like the upside down kingdom. It's not like the business model that we have been used to.
Yeah.
So it's more of, okay, what does a leader really look like? It's someone who is attuned to what God is trying to do in there, and regardless of who he wants to use, allows and makes room for him to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that point that you made, Lori. A lot of times, in times past, what I saw, at least in my perspective, was a lot of times people would be trying to get somebody's gift or somebody's anointing or somebody's this or that, whatever you want to call it. But the Bible makes mention that, it's not wise to try to compare yourselves to other people,
right,
or things like that. Ultimately, our example is Christ. And, and when we follow that model, it invites us to be who we are, using the gifts and talents that we have. We're not trying to be somebody that we're not. We're not trying to get some gift or some anointing that somebody else has, because in us is our God-given destiny and our talents and gifts that God's going to use. And in that, just because my gift is not necessarily something that is used for some, other people need the gift that I have. And the cool thing is we comes together like a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And we're able to just work together based on that, and it's just cool. You never know what you need until you get into a relationship with some people, and it's cool.
Actually, this week recently, I was speaking to somebody who. He's very well off. He's got great businesses, and he's been very successful in his life in most areas, not in all of them. And one of the things he's come to terms with, that someone who has it all, is that he says, I just feel like it's time to give back because I've never really given back, and I don't know how to do that.
Right.
And so in his mind, he's thinking maybe go to a soup kitchen or things like that. And then in his stomach, he's going, but I don't want to do that. And so I was able to encourage him and say, do you know that giving back isn't all about just a soup kitchen? Giving back is giving back with who you are. God doesn't make us be somebody we're not.
That's right.
So I said, all these things that you have, the businesses that you run, the things that you offer, whatever, you can help somebody who is doing that.
Right.
Make a way for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to do that, and it was like this burden came off him. He just looked at me like, "That's awesome. You mean I don't have to?" Everybody think God wants us to be somebody we're not.
No,
and it's really
you can use your gifting in that area to help. Like there might be I'm a musician. There might be someone who needs help learning how to play music, and that's serving God. I don't have to go to a soup kitchen or do something I'm not necessarily gifted in, or talk to people that makes me uncomfortable. You can do it in a way that's comfortable because that's how God made you. And then it will just happen and you'll feel so free in it.
Well, that's a great example.
It won't be burdensome. You know what I mean?
It's a great example. Kenny owns Vision Cast, and he does weddings and events and parties and things like that.
And sometimes I'll do them just for free, because that's what the Lord is calling me to do at the time, and I feel so free doing it. Instead of offering a service like, I don't have a problem serving in a soup kitchen, but it's not my first choice when I go to serve.
Right. I mean, you still get paid for some of your jobs, but similar to me, I mean, I think anybody in the kingdom understands this one principle, is that whatever gifts he gives you, you end up giving up. You give half of what you're doing pretty much anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you don't have to, but you just know the right time. And when you're a generous person, it's just you never outgive God. It keeps coming back to you.
And I think with that point, Lori, it's important to note that when you're in your assignment, there's always going to be provision to carry out and to sustain you in those times.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, actually, we've said this several times, and I think it's worth saying again. Here's how we know: God gives us the desire, He gives us the ability, He gives us the opportunity, and He gives us the provision.
That's right.
He gives us all of it. So, we're not feeling like we're a fish out of water. We're not feeling like we're, a square peg in a round hole, that kind of thing. So that's the false God that people have thought, if I become a believer, then I'm going to have to do stuff I don't want to do or be someone I don't want to be. And that's just not the case at all. It's to bring out who you really are so that you no longer have to be under what other people think you should be.
That's really true.
When you know who you are, it feels good, and
absolutely,
you can push forward, and it doesn't feel like it's a chore.
Yeah, it's free.
That's right.
Exactly.
So free.
So.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I feel like we all go back to every time we have this conversation. It's truly knowing your identity in Christ. As Chris has talked about a couple times on the show, it's really knowing who you are as a follower of Jesus and understanding what God has made you to do. I think it's just so important to understand that we are all made for different purposes.
Right.
Similar,
exactly.
But
it's not a cookie cutter kingdom.
No way.
It's not.
Pretty boring if it was cookie cutter.
Yeah, it would be pretty boring. Can you imagine if we were all exactly the same?
Oh, life would be so...
I'd go crazy.
Boring.
Alex would go crazy.
I mean, we wouldn't know any different, but still,
Alex needs some variety, right, Al?
Exactly.
Yeah, God's giving you different business ideas and things like that. Yep. I mean, can you imagine if someone just came up to you, and this is how other countries are. This is why America's so great. Other countries are, okay, you're going to be this.
Yeah.
And that's it. You go to school for what they take.
I couldn't do that. I'm
the same way.
That's not freedom.
Yeah, that's definitely not freedom.
He says in his word that it was for freedom that he set us free.
Exactly.
And, that's why I love New Hampshire so much. The motto, it says, don't tread on me. There are worse things than death. But he says, live free or die.
Right.
Right, Chris?
That's right.
New Hampshire motto.
America.
No, I just think it's so good. I've just enjoyed, this segment so much here.
Me too.
And it's been good, discovering, who we are meant to be in Christ and, how we can apply wisdom to our lives.
That's right. We're going to continue on at the new location. We're going to continue on, and hopefully we're going to start bringing in other millennial guests who are doing amazing things in the city. That's what we're looking for. I don't know. Okay, Chris, is that from your side?
Tell everyone we say hi, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I will.
We're hearing the live broadcast from the PA system of Elliott Hospital.
Yeah, I'm in the midst of a hallway right now, so it's a lot of...
All right, that's okay. No worries.
It's all good, man.
All right, so we're going to... I don't know where Josh went. He's disappearing, but there he is.
He's back.
We're gonna have to take a break, but I do want to give Kenny an opportunity to share about his company real quick before we take off. So go ahead.
My company name is VisionCast DJ Services. We are a full-fledged DJ and lighting company. We do all events from weddings, birthday parties, proms, you name it, we do it. We're in Manchester, New Hampshire, but we go through all of pretty much New England. But you can contact me, 603-391-8933, or you can check us out online. It's visioncastdj.com. One word, visioncastdj.com.
Awesome. All right. Cool. If you got a wedding or a party coming up, he's the man.
Hi, I'm Lori Greene, Advancement Strategist and owner of AlphaAdvancementStrategies.com.
I've been very successful at helping people overcome stressful situations to get immediate results in their personal and professional lives. At Alpha Advancement Strategies, we provide a non-judgmental and supportive environment, empowering clients to focus more on reaching their goals. You can find us on the web at alphaadvancementstrategies.com or call us at 603-860-9260. Alpha Advancement Strategies is where you invest in yourself.
Childcare and preschool offers learning experiences that give kids a healthy sense of self and meaningful connections to the world around them. We teach children from a positive perspective so they learn healthy conflict resolution and develop character. Owner Jennifer Lever has over 28 years' experience in child development. She's helped children learn to read as young as 18 months. Join our happy place where we make happy happen. Located in Pinardville, bordering Bedford and Manchester. Call today.
Hey, I'm Josh Moore, State Representative and anchor of the Justice for All segment. Join me Wednesdays at 9 a.m., where we take a look at the history of America's founding fathers in light of today's important issues. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Greene,
anchor of Samaritan Truth. Join me every Thursday at 9 a.m., where we'll discuss practical ways to love God and love your neighbor. Because miracles happen every day, and you could be one of them. Only on In It Together with Lori Lynn Greene.
Well, that concludes today's show. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp, Jen Lever will be here for Recovery Now, and you can come and be encouraged. Learn how to help your loved ones dealing with addiction. Thanks for tuning in today. Make the best of your day, and remember, we're in it together.